only hours remaining until Bitcoin puts in its potential highest weekly close in years. Are there massive signs showing up right now that the altcoin market is about to slurp up some absolutely ginormous gainers, bigger than anything you could ever imagine? For the last couple of days, Bitcoin has been trading in a very tight range, directly below 53 and directly above 50,000 US dollars. But as expected, altcoins are absolutely unleashing a little bit of a micro bust. And absolutely, the two biggest altcoin charts there are showing us that not only is a bust coming, a very big bust is on the way. So if you love both big gainers, little gainers, and medium gainers, hit that like, hit that subscribe, get signed up to Femex below if you want to buy Bitcoin or altcoins. And without any further magoo, let's absolutely get extremely rich. So if we look on this chart, this is Bitcoin's chart, we can see clearly last couple of days, this white line is 53,000. We're kind of consolidating right underneath that. And we actually have the stock market also being closed tomorrow because of a holiday. So we're not even going to see Bitcoin inflows or any real, in my opinion, any real crazy Bitcoin gains for at least the next 36 to 48 hours. However, one thing we are seeing is altcoins are starting to inch and squinch a little higher. Currently, as I'm recording, Bitcoin is up about 0.3% on the day, whereas some of the top altcoins are up 5%, 2%, 3%, and going down the list, some even bigger gainers than that. So today, actually, Bitcoin has some of the least gains of the crypto market. Now, before we continue with that, because there's two absolutely gigantic charts I want to talk about, let's look at some fundamental data. So apparently, Bitcoin is not allowed to drop 2% on a low liquidity weekend without the 2022 recession callers coming out. James Van Straten just highlighting that Bitcoin is up 20% in a month while ETFs buy OTC. Short-term price action is absolutely just noise. Absolutely healthy metrics coming out of the Bitcoin ecosystem right now. We also saw Bitcoin downside liquidity got taken out yesterday. Majority of liquidity is to the upside, potentially meaning Bitcoin could climb higher here. But I do want to highlight a couple other things before we jump right back into crypto. We see the world debt in trillions of dollars at a record high. You can see how this absolutely started popping off big time in the late 90s. And also, this graphic right here, if we just kind of show it, look at this. This is US rent prices versus income. If we fast forward kind of the end here, look at the income in blue and look at the rent price here. So I always think it's funny when I talk to people, especially people older generations who will say like, oh, I only made $2 or $3 per hour when I was growing up. I dealt with it. You should deal with it too. It's like, yeah, that's because you could buy a house for like 5 bananas. Okay. That's not the case anymore. You actually need money to buy houses now. And look at this. Facts don't lie. You can have your feelings, right? You can feel like everything was just as expensive 40, 50 years ago. But just because you feel that way doesn't mean that's true, right? It's absolutely crazy to me. There's a million other points of reference and data we could look at here, but we're not making a video about why kids growing up these days are absolutely getting banged by the monetary system. But anyway, Alessandro Ottaviani here, very long post. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but basically we have seen a lot of people switch to kind of hating talking about the Bitcoin ETFs, myself included, to not hating it. For example, we see Max Kaiser doing that. He was like very against it. Now he's openly like showing the inflows. And basically, again, as I said, you could go through this whole post. I'm not going to. But a lot of people that were initially kind of like anti-ETFs are kind of getting on board a little bit and covering it every day. And another big thing here, so the left translated Bitcoin cycle is something that I've brought up in a tweet, in someone else's tweet here about last week. But basically what that means is, maybe it's the idea kind of that we're left translated a little bit and we're going to peak a little sooner. Matt C on Twitter is actually saying this is all just clickbait, garbage, coming from people that also wrongly predicted other things in the past. But Bitcoin just had one of its longest bear markets in its 15-year history. The subsequent bull market will also take longer to play out, he's saying, and that's assuming there's not an economic downturn along the way. He's saying this is good for price discovery, and he's also saying that the longer the bear market continues, the stronger the bull will be. So maybe just a counterpoint to the idea of a left translated cycle. I also, the lengthening cycle theory was complete baloney, didn't happen. We also have like the super cycle theory, which didn't play out. All of these cycles, or all these theories. But so far, the only thing that has actually been accurate so far, okay, all models work until they don't. So maybe it will change. I'm not here to say that we'll never break. But so far, the only thing that has been consistently right is that the 4-year cycles basically play out to a T. In terms of time, time of these 4-year cycles is like pretty accurate compared to any other thing. There's always someone coming out with a new model of why this time is different and why we're going to do this instead of this. But so far, literally, it's just been sticking to the 4-year cycles pretty good. In 2 weeks, Bitcoin moved from 38,000 to 52,000. If the ETFs keep buying at the pace of the last week, which is about like 2 billion net inflows, or about 45,000 Bitcoin, we should see $60,000 per Bitcoin soon. Buying pressure cannot be sustained at these prices, meaning prices will have to increase. Bitcoin is over 50,000 US dollars, and retail trading volume on Coinbase is still 85% of its high, still down massively. Retail is still largely absent. We have a lot of retail that I personally think we're going to have way more people investing in crypto this bull cycle than any other bull cycle, because that's been the trend since the beginning of mankind. All data would show, yes, that's obvious, right? But we haven't even gotten back to the number of retail that we had in the last bull cycle, even though we're going to go much higher than the previous numbers, in my opinion. So we have a long way to go. This is a good metric if you want to expect higher prices and a lot more interest, especially in the altcoin market. Speaking of that, Bitcoin supply dynamics, long-term holder supply increasing, hodled or lost coins increasing, obviously. Basically, think about it this way. Forever, we can all lose our coins. Let's say I buy a Bitcoin, write it down on a paper wallet, and then I burn that wallet and I lose it forever. That's lost forever. You can only lose Bitcoin. You can't unlose them. You can get really lucky and like find a wallet from like 10 years ago or something that you forgot about or whatever it is. But it's infinitely more likely that the trajectory is more and more lost, which is going to make Bitcoin more and more scarce, making that 21 million absolute Bitcoin number only less and less, which should theoretically also help with the price. ETFs are also crushing demand expectations, and this is just highlighting all of those supply dynamics in one chart, leading to a big bust, in my opinion, a massive bust. And Bitcoin has not moved in over 6 months by realized cap percentage. At 16K, it was 80%. At 30K, it was 71%. And at 51K, which is current, it's 63%. Previous cycle tops had those numbers as low as 15%, 5%, and 5%. We have a long way to go to reach the cyclical top. Again, more data just indicating we are very, very, very far off from a cycle top. And we have a very, very, very big, very extremely bigly large amount of gains that we need to experience first. So many gains. Matthew Hyland also pointing out Bitcoin weekly close above 49,000, and it is bullish. Close below, and 44,000 comes into play. Another, just targets to watch. Now, talking about altcoins, many altcoins are about to skyrocket in the next alt season. We're very close. We look at this chart by Stock Money Lizards. Absolutely. I have a few charts of my own I'm going to pull out in a second here. In Mag's Scalping Pro, altcoins are pumping hard while the altcoin market cap is still trading at $870 billion and is up only 30% since the Bitcoin breakout. Imagine what happens when it breaks $1 trillion. We are super early. Now, 2 charts that I want to look at of my own. This chart right here is the entire cryptocurrency market cap, minus Bitcoin and minus Ethereum. So it's total 3 chart. And you notice in this range right here, we had massive amounts of volume. You can see on the VRVP. And this was the bottoming area. This red box was the bottoming zone. Okay. Basically, this was like maximum opportunity, maximum scoopage. If you wanted to buy alts as cheap as you could buy them, it was in this zone. Then this box, this white box, in my opinion, is basically like, this is the zone that matters if we're actually going to start a breakout, right? We still see pretty high amounts of VRVP volume. But what do you notice kind of where we're at right now? The volume absolutely drops off. We are breaking above that previous support from back in the summer of 2021. And this is when the real breakout begins. You can see the past 2 weekly candles are very green. And this is the ignition, the beginning of this altcoin rally here. If we look at the entire cryptocurrency chart minus Bitcoin, so the total 2 chart, it is very clear just how I have it labeled here as well, the pre-bust and then the bust phase. And we are at the very, very beginning, in my opinion, of the bust phase. We are just now breaking out. Altcoin gains are still significantly muted. Altcoins are still significantly down, and the true bust is closer than ever. Bitcoin has done beautifully, amazingly. If we can consolidate in this $50,000 range, low $50,000 range, or even mid $40,000 range, say we have a pullback a little bit lower over the next few weeks, altcoins will bust big time. Altcoins are itching to bust. Extremely. They're extremely ready. Looking on Bitcoin's chart, however, though, too, we do see that plotting this as a top overhead resistance, right now we're kind of testing even that for support. So I'm going to be watching that very big. Bitcoin still looks very good. I think with these Bitcoin ETF inflows, we're going to see Bitcoin probably continue to go up over these next few weeks. I'm not calling for Bitcoin to just crash and altcoins to start rallying. I think Bitcoin looks really good. I think Bitcoin's going to pump for a long time. We look at Cardano as well. It is breaching. It's trying to get above this previous resistance we saw back at the end of 2023. We just got a bullish cross on Cardano as well, 21 going above the 50-day moving average. Very good. Cardano is looking honestly like it wants to break out. It's a top coin, top blue chip coin, like Ethereum, like Polygon, like Solana, like AVAX. And I think it's about to start a very big bust. And I think it might lead this bust as well. We're seeing gains kind of flow between Cardano, Solana, AVAX, Polygon. Like I just said, all of these top coins, they're kind of just fighting for that momentum. And it's also illustrated in these altcoin charts, right? A lot of those gains are coming from those top 10, top 20 altcoins, like Solana, like Ethereum, except this chart, which minuses Ethereum, like Cardano, like AVAX. And the bust, I think, is extremely close. I think altcoins have a lot of room to run. I had a tweet like yesterday just saying, I think Cardano is going to hit like a little over $10 at its peak in this upcoming bull market. That's a lot of gains that are needed, right? Billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in market cap needs to be added on here. And I think it will be. Absolutely. I think we're going to see billions, trillions even added to the crypto market cap. But really, looking at this chart to me is probably the easiest illustration of where I think we're going, because I think the entire altcoin market cap, minus Bitcoin and minus Ethereum, is going to head up into the $3 to $5 trillion range at its peak. Now, that's not saying that altcoins are going to be worth $5 trillion while Bitcoin is also worth $5 trillion or $10 trillion, right? By the time altcoins reach their peak, maybe Bitcoin's already initiated a decent pullback and a lot of that value flows into those altcoins. That's historically how it's happened, right? Bitcoin was not at its all-time highs, while Cardano and Ethereum were at their all-time highs. The money flowed between, right? So if we have a $10 trillion market cap, and then the next month we have also a $10 trillion market cap, I expect that where the value is between those 2 months, even if the total cap is the same, is going to be vastly different because of how the money flows. And get signed up to Femex below if you want to buy Bitcoin or altcoins. And without any further ado,